All right, ladies and gentlemen, how are you doing? It's Thursday, December 26th, 2019. Merry Christmas and happy holidays, everyone. Be safe this holiday season, please. If you are drinking and celebrating, which a lot of people do around this time of year, just do me a favor and be safe and don't drive. Welcome to another episode of Music of Destruction right here on YouTube. So for today's review, I am doing another black metal album review from my own personal collection once again, and I'm doing Marduk's very first EP, Fuck Me Jesus. Now this was released in 1991. However, the edition that I have is the bonus edition, which was released, I believe it was 1999, with bonus tracks Dark Endless, In Conspiracy with Satan, and Woman of Dark Desires. Now the last two tracks, In Conspiracy with Satan and Woman of Dark Desires, are both Bathory covers, and in my opinion they're fucking amazing. That's what the CD looks like. Very, very cool indeed. There's the album cover once again for you guys. I'm gonna get that shirt because that shirt is fucking awesome. Absolutely awesome. Let me just put this back here. Now, Marduk are the pioneers of the second wave of Swedish black metal and formed in 1990. Now, the band at this time consisted of Morgan Hakannson on guitars, Andreas Axelsson on vocals, Jokaim Gothberg on drums, and Richard Kalm on bass. Now, the CD version, as I said, is the bonus edition. That's a reissue released in 1999. And one thing I'm going to say is upon first listen of this EP, one thing is very clear in my eyes, and that is that Morgan was very hell-bent on creating some of the darkest, evil music the world had ever seen at this time. And in my humble opinion, the emotions on this record are very evil, very dark, very primitive, very cold. And one thing that also must be mentioned here is the enormous Bathory and Mayhem influence that can be found throughout this demo's entire duration. The primitive drumming, absolutely maniacal, evil, demonic bass tones, ice-cold, evil fucking riffing, and overall direction and composition and structure of these tracks can all be easily found throughout Mayhem and Bathory's earliest works for sure. I almost feel like Marduk is a darker continuation of what Bathory and Mayhem were responsible for creating. And there's absolutely nothing commercially appealing about anything Marduk did or have done to this day. Now, I've heard mixed opinions about their newest album, Viktoria. However, I haven't listened to that album yet, so I don't know if people are just kind of being biased or if they're just not, if it's just not an enjoyable record. I don't know. I haven't heard it. The last album I heard from Marduk was Frontschwein, or Frontschwein, or however you say it in German. And I thought that album was one of the closest things to classic Marduk. Now, we all know Mortus joined the band in 2007 from the band Funeral Mist. They got a new vocalist when Legion left back in 2006, I think is when he left. And so Marduk needed a new vocalist, and Mortus does an incredible job. He reminds me of Attila in a lot of ways, though not as operatic, but in terms of scope and overall vocal ability, Mortus is definitely up there. Now, that's not to overshadow Legion's contributions as well, but Mortus is a much more diverse vocalist for Marduk, and I just love what he brings to the table with Marduk's newer stuff, starting with 2007's Rome 512, which we are going to get to on the channel as well. I do own a lot of Marduk's albums. Wearing a Marduk shirt from Plague Angel, one of my favorite albums from them. I own that as well. Now, one thing that's really cool is that Marduk have never abandoned their creed and ideology and overall reason for creating what I think is single-handedly some of the absolute best Swedish black metal that ever emerged from Sweden, along with, of course, the legendary godfathers of the genre with Bathory. Make sure you hit that subscribe button down below and turn on the bell for all notifications. I would greatly appreciate it. If you'd like to join the Music of Destruction Facebook group, go to facebook.com/groups/Music of Destruction. If you want to follow me on Twitter and Instagram, just search Music of Destruction. If you want to show your support via Patreon and get access to exclusive podcasts, The Seed, go to patreon.com/Music of Destruction. I want to thank my newest patrons, Mike and Xavier, for their contributions. Thank you so much. And to Josh for upping his pledge to $10. Thank you, Josh. We're going to be interviewing Josh of Morticide, so keep an eye out for that. That is coming. I'm going to be reviewing his album once he sends it to me. My newest podcast series has been uploaded. The History of Black Sabbath Part 1. The Seed episode number 16 is up right now for you guys, so make sure, if you are a supporting patron, that you go and check that out. Part 2 is going to be up by January 21st, so please stay tuned for that. Thank you very much for all of your support on Patreon. Also, please make sure you check out my good buddy Anthony's YouTube channel, Heavy Metal Networks. These guys are awesome and are also in the band Diabolic Intent from Florida and are good old school death metal. You know what I mean? Great band. Great guys, and I'm honored to be friends with them. And reviewing their new upcoming full length is coming when the album is released. I'm also going to be joining them on their podcast, The Dirt, and interviewing them right here on Music of Destruction. So thank you very much to Anthony, Chris, and Mop. Mop is the drummer. I guess that's his nickname. Pretty cool. For wanting me on their show. It is a huge fucking honor. So thank you very much, guys. I really appreciate it. So the album opens with a sample from the cult classic horror film The Exorcist, with Regan screaming, "Lick Jesus, fuck you, lick Jesus, fuck you," and other obscenities with some screaming and demonic tongues from Regan herself. Pretty sick intro if you ask me. Then it goes straight into Departure from the Mortals, which opens with a really dark guitar riff, thundering low-tuned bass, and primal bombastic drumming that sounds like it's opening the march straight into the blackness and the absence of light. The guitars are raw and primitive in their approach and very simplistic in their delivery, and it's truly remarkable to behold. This is primal raw black metal, and one thing I will note is that the production fits this so fucking well, and I always emphasize why I love raw production in black metal. It's essential to the genre. I know there's a lot of bands that are doing a cleaner style of production, and while that's okay, they can do what they want, I do like the primal raw production of this type of black metal, and I think it fits the fucking atmosphere very, very well. This is the sound of evil, if you will, and Marduk obviously had a lot of original ideas in mind when they recorded this EP. I mean, really, this is a legendary demo, and I'm so honored that I own this piece of history. And I purchased it back in 2003, and I managed to find it at my local music store. So, pretty fucking awesome find with that as well. I mean, really, this is a legendary demo, as I said, and emotionally and lyrically, this one is all about longing for death and dreaming of the forest of the dead, reaching the land of no return, with a strong calling for death and darkness, and it's a perfect way to open this record, and just absolutely perfect song. Now, Marduk were also one of the first bands to really do this as well, along with bands like Mayhem from Norway, Bathory, and Beherit from Finland. This was a burgeoning beginning for black metal, and a lot of people think that this second wave was black metal at its best and at its most original. However, while I agree with some of these sentiments, I also think that the third wave is equally good, as there have been a number of killer bands coming out from all over the world for the last 20 years that kept these ideas and aesthetics and creeds of their forefathers firmly intact. So let's not forget about that. And don't overlook the third wave, because there are a lot of good fucking bands in the third wave, in my opinion. Now, if you don't agree, that's totally fine, but you truly are missing out on some really awesome black metal. Next up, we have the track The Black, which is an absolute raw, sick, savage, fucking black metal classic with ice-cold, savage, primal riffs that cut like a fucking knife in their tonality and overall compositions. The drumming is primal as hell, with a strong emphasis on primitivism and blasting like an army of evil demonic beings ravaging the world you have come to know as it stands. However, this sounds like complete and utter annihilation of the planet and everything holy about the Christian indoctrinated world, so to speak. And that's really the fundamental basis of Marduk's music. which is to annihilate Christianity through their art and truly express what they feel would happen if Christians were wrong and there was only Satan and darkness in the world. This track really conveys these strong emotions and darkness very well. So guys, let's listen to The Black right here on Music of Destruction. And we are back. And yes, this track is total savagery at its finest and primitivism. Very primal stuff. Primitivism. Thank you. Very primal stuff. And the bass can be heard so fucking clearly on this one that this album gives it an even heavier and more savage tone with those primal cold riffs that I talked about. And the bass just so well. I mean, the fact that you can hear the bass on this as well as you can on albums like Autopsy, Severed Survival speaks fucking volumes about why bass is essential to have in your metal. You need to hear the fucking bass. Next up, we have the track Within the Abyss, and instantly you get that feeling of tearing the veil from grace, so to speak, that strips you of hope and peace. This is darkness incarnate in sound, ladies and gentlemen. And this track makes me think of evil spirits rising from their eternal slumber to feast on the souls of the pure innocents of Christianity and all of their false beliefs, stripping them back of their moral fabric and leaving them withered and hopeless, only to point the hypocrisy back at themselves. As I feel this track and album are direct responses to the Christian indoctrination and those hypocritical beliefs that are held by the Christian faith. And this song is clearly a dance with the dead and the putrid foul stench of evil emitting from the graveyard, so to speak, if that makes sense. And that's very apparent in these riffs and drumming and vocals and bass. An absolute sick fucking song here as well, ladies and gentlemen, that is absolutely cold and devoid of life and hope. You really cannot get any better than Marduk when it comes to this style of black metal. Next up, we have the re-recorded version of Dark Endless, which is a bonus track. And it's another cacophonic trip into hell with visions of complete and utter evil souls tearing at your flesh, with its savage primal guitar riffing and drumming that conjures up the most primitive savage emotions that an album can deliver in this vein, ladies and gentlemen. Only an album in this vein can deliver. And there's a mid-tempo headbanging inducing section about midway through the song, as well, with some great double bass work and bass guitar thundering in like a cloud of lightning that rumbles and makes the fucking room shake. Turn up your subwoofers and you'll know what I'm talking about. Great fucking track. This is primal, aggressive, savage black metal at its finest, and one of Marduk's best releases in my opinion. Now that's not to say that their other albums aren't incredible, because they are, and I have been a huge fan of this band since 2001. The primal blasting and gunfire drumming will leave you in a bloodied heap on the fucking ground. The riffs are ice cold and deliver visions of pure evil and dead corpses emerging from the earth to devour the souls of the living and introduce them to the hell that is death in Marduk's world, guys. This was some of the darkest music around at this time, and I'm damn sure people were in complete awe of this record when it was released, because I sure as hell know that I am. Next up is a Bathory cover of In Conspiracy with Satan, which is a Bathory cover, and rightfully so. Marduk definitely do it justice, and it's quite a bit faster and darker than the original and a little bit colder in tonality. And this version sounds like the guitar tones, they're a lot more raw, and the drumming is a lot more aggressive and pounding. However, Bathory's version to me is really good as well, obviously. This is a short track that clocks in at just over 2 minutes and 14 seconds, but is a definite banger that gets the point across very well, ladies and gentlemen. Closing out the album is another awesome Bathory cover with Women of Dark Desires, or Woman of Dark Desires, I should say. And again, Marduk do this justice and do a killer job on this track as well of covering Bathory, with a more frantic tone to it and a deeper bass tonality and super fast primitive drums. This cover is a lot heavier but carries that same aesthetic and darkness as the original, and the vocals are fucking killer, and they just nail this track to a T, ladies and gentlemen. Overall, this is an awesome demo from Marduk and a great debut. And it's quite a quick listen at only 24 minutes, but it delivers what's intended here, and it's actually really fucking amazing. And now we come to the final verdict for Marduk's Fuck Me Jesus, and I'm going to score this an 8.5 out of 10. That is my score based on the length, because I do like longer albums, but hey, what is here is incredibly solid for a demo release from Marduk. You can pick it up. Pretty sure you can grab this on eBay. Pretty easy to find. I mean, it may be a bit more difficult now. I know when I got it, it was in the music store, but getting the bonus edition may be difficult, as I think this was a limited press run as well. I'm not entirely sure. Time to give some shout outs to some really awesome friends of mine. Shadows of Death Records. Gail's over there in Vietnam right now. Hope he had a safe trip. Merry Christmas to Gail and Shadows of Death Records. He's signing some bands from Vietnam, so I'm very excited. That interview that Gail and I are going to be doing with the concert from the Philippines, as well as all the bands and events that transpired. I do have live footage for that. We just got to sit down, do some editing, and we're going to be bringing that interview to you guys in review of the concert as soon as possible. So please stay tuned for that. Shout out to Gail. Thank you so much for working with me. Love you, brother, and I hope your travels to Vietnam were safe. Also, shout out to Heavy Metal Networks. Once again, check out their YouTube channel. Great friends of mine. Diabolic Intent. Great old school death metal from Florida. Going to be interviewing them, reviewing their newest album, and going to be featured on their upcoming podcast. I cannot fucking wait. Thank you to Anthony, Chris, and Mop for that opportunity. Also, my shout out to my great friend King of Swords, Acid Metal, Backwoods Metal, and Josh Dominus of Morticide. Make sure you check them all out on YouTube. They would really appreciate it. Have yourselves an awesome Boxing Day, everybody. We will see you tomorrow for another review. And as always, stay fucking metal. Take care, everybody.